Aloha, folks. Woo-hoo! So, I'm talking about this one because today's guest is this brother named Nomana Angelo, and is very cool to meet him for the first time. I never met this guy before, but I've seen a lot of his videos that he posted with some of the fellow Kanaka that were on earlier episodes. You see Maka Kione, you see Lance Kabanilaku, even Jay Kahe'e was in with this group, collaborating with them a few times. But this guy, he's the respected quote unquote leader of the group. The guys, I told the guys that, oh yeah, I'm gonna have them on Friday, and then Maka and Jay and Lance was all like, oh bro, you're gonna drop some dimes, bro. It's gonna be one good one. but yeah, so I don't want to take up too much of his time, but this guy has been doing this for many years, talking to folks, webinars, seminars, doing a lot of leadership training. You can check up a lot of the things that they do, him and the rest of the guys do on Instagram as well. And I'm gonna let him talk about himself as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, introduce you to Nomana Angelo, brother. Please go ahead and introduce yourself.
First of all, thank you, Brother Gabon. I really appreciate what you're doing for the Lahui, everybody out there. I appreciate you so much. So, Nomana Angelo, I'm a husband, a father, grandfather, a son, a brother, friend, business partner in K-Vibe 808, success coach, leadership trainer, keynote speaker, head of all production and skills training, including apprentice program at the largest industrial employer in Hawaii. I'm the National Association of Superintendents National President, Federal Managers Association President, and also I sit on the board of the Halepono Boys and Girls Club here in Ewa Beach. I say this not to impress you, but to impress upon you. If I can do it, anybody can do it. You know, we all say, hey, we don't have enough time. We don't have enough time. We have enough time. What are we spending our time on? Are we watching TV? Are we watching Netflix? Are we on Candy Crush? Which is one of my things that I go to sometimes, right? I go to Candy Crush. Are we on Candy Crush? Netflix? What are we doing with our time? And are we scheduling our time out? So if I can do it, you can do it. So I know, growing up, listening to your podcast, everything, and where we go, right? Growing up, I didn't identify as Hawaiian. I am Hawaiian Portuguese, 50% Portuguese. I'm like 3/16 Hawaiian going throughout. But because of my color, people didn't identify me as Hawaiian. So I didn't identify myself as Hawaiian, and which was fine, right? I went through my life, I identified myself as Portuguese. I'm the Portuguese of the group, going through all my friends. You know, I still had all the Kanaka friends, but I was known as the Portuguese of the group going through. So I didn't really identify with the Hawaiian side, even though my tutu identified, you know, Kamehameha grad, hula dancer, worked for Diamond Head tours, taking tours all around, showing them our island. My mom, Kamehameha grad, 62 grad, Hawaiian, everything. Me, 86 grad, St. Louis High School. So not identifying with Hawaiian because Kamehameha, the Kanakas on the hill didn't want me. Kindergarten, 4th grade, 7th grade. Once I got into St. Louis at 7th grade, I stopped trying. I stayed at St. Louis. I was true and blue Crusader all the way through. So going through that was just me, and that's how it was. Played sports going through. I tell you, but going through high school, realizing I was not a good student. And my mom actually found something out of it. And I'm going to show you guys this thing, right? It's actually a report card from my junior year in high school. And this thing right here, let's just say my 3rd quarter, I had a 2.14 because I needed to paddle and I got to stay above the 2.0 GPA. But once that was finished, 4th quarter, I was 1.43 GPA, and for the semester was 1.86. Not realizing senior year, if I never hustle at the beginning, I would have to sit out the first game of football because I was below 2.0 in the last the last semester. But how does somebody with these grades in high school go to becoming the head of all production and skills training, including our apprenticeship program at the largest industrial employer in Hawaii? People, this right here is just a snapshot in time at that time. This does not define me. This does not define my future, where I'm going, how I'm doing. It just defined me in that snapshot in time. So we all can learn, keep moving on. I wanted to show you folks that, there's a lot of lessons going through. From there, I went to Arizona. I went to college. I went to DeVry Electronics. I got good grades. I focused on what I had to do. I got good grades, went through, came out of DeVry, got my first job at Motorola. Guess what? I got fired in 6 months. Fired from my first job. But what I realized was electronics wasn't for me. When I was going through high school, I said, what's the easy way to college? And I aced the test to get into DeVry. That's my easy way into college. I ended up wasting my parents' money. So from there, I went, and my mom's classmate was living in Arizona. So I hooked up with him, and I had all my friends and everything. Hooked up with him, and he hooked me up with a job. And this is spraying fireproofing construction. And I had a natural talent for it. And he took me under his wing and helped me. So went through, and we were working for the company. He was the vice president of the company. And we was working for this white guy out there without the law values and everything. So he didn't take care of the crew, the men. The one thing I learned from Dwayne, his name is Dwayne Kalani, by the way. One of the big things I learned from him is the relationship and building relationships with your people, going through, taking care of your people as we went through. So he took care of me, he mentored me, and then he got fed up. He wanted to start his own business. So he asked me to be a part of it and become the vice president in charge of all operations. So in 1 month, and this is October of 1992, in that same month, started our own business. I bought a house in Arizona, and we had our first son. So it was just hectic, and most of our work, our business, was in California. So from Arizona, we would drive up to California and do businesses. And we were working sometimes 48 hours straight. And it was several different jobs. There was only 3 of us. We never have a crew. We had to do the work. We had to do all the bidding ourselves. We had to do everything ourselves. So that taught me the work ethic. The work ethic actually started with my dad all the way through. I had the mindset, but with him, it was how to put it in motion. Because coming up through high school, I didn't have the work ethic I should have had. Even though no matter how much my dad instilled it in me growing up, I didn't realize it till that moment. And that's what helped me was the actions. I followed the actions of Dwayne Kalani helping me. Plus, my livelihood was on the line. I had a house, I had a new kid, I had my wife. And in fact, she wasn't my wife at the time. We was just boyfriend, girlfriend, living together. So it was a struggle, but we got through it. And we got to a point where, we started succeeding. And we started seeing the fruits of our labor. Just to let you know the time frame, the house that I bought in Arizona, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, was 18,000 square feet. The lot was 8,000 square feet, $44,000. My mortgage payment was $411.
Wow, brother. Wow.
Yeah, so, we started making headway throughout there, going, and we started getting big. We started growing. We started hiring people, hiring on crews. And I was in charge of all operations, all the hiring, the personnel decisions, ordering all the material, making sure all the projects were staffed. And we were doing work actually in California, Hawaii, and Arizona, and even in Vegas. So we actually sprayed the couple of theaters. We actually did that job. We came to Hawaii, did that. We did one job at UH Manoa. So a lot of traveling involved, but we were doing good. We had fun, enjoying it. And then adversity struck. And adversity was, I was on a job and I was spraying the fireproofing. And we had scaffolding set up, but there was a hard to reach corner. So makeshift the scaffold, put them out, and then not a rolling scaffold on the side, and then put the plank on the rolling scaffold going. I was walking backwards, spraying, and fireproofing goes on the structure beams, just so you guys know. And I'm looking up, not paying attention, walking backwards on a 12-inch plank. And all of a sudden, I noticed the roof started getting further and further. And I'm like, but before I knew it, I realized I was falling. It was like 15 feet. I fell to the ground, fractured my hip, hurt my shoulder, and I'm on the ground in pain. So everybody comes rushing, of course. And I hit the ground so hard. This was a American Express building, so a secure building. The concrete floor was 1 foot thick. They heard me fall on the floor below. They came running up from the floor below to see what happened. And the first thing, they would call an ambulance. And owner of the company, right, first thought, no, don't call an ambulance. Call my wife. Have her pick me up. Because I never get charged the insurance, right? No. So I broke my hip, everything. So adversity hit. But when we're going through that, I was the one in charge of all operations. I didn't have the foresight to train somebody in succession planning to come up behind me. And so I went through that. And this happened right around February of 96. By June of 96, we were losing the company. We took on a job in California. We went to that. I couldn't get to the job because I was still nursing. I couldn't run the job what I normally do, be on a job site. And we tanked. And the liquidated damages cost us so much that we ended up having to sell out. Luckily, we had enough capital that we sold out that nobody lost money. We didn't have to owe money, didn't have to claim bankruptcy, but we lost the company. And now I'm stuck with my son, who's going to be 4 in a few months. And so I went on in fact, 96 was my 10-year reunion. Came back to Hawaii and, with my classmates, of course, and we're all drinking at St. Louis Clubhouse, everything. From there, we go to a bar, one of those bars that I probably shouldn't have been in, with a wife and everything. But something told me, why are you in? Why are you in here? And this is 1 in the morning. And I shouldn't be here. So I left the bar, and this is close to where Sports Authority is, right there right by the Sports Authority. I started walking towards Waikiki because we had a hotel room in Waikiki. And I walked past the convention center, and it's raining. It's raining. I'd like to say inebriated, but I'm sobering up as I'm walking in the rain and everything stopped. Because I don't know what I'm going to do in life already. I'm losing the company. I don't know where I'm going, what I'm going to do. And I looked up and I see there was no convention center yet. It was just being built. And I'm walking past the construction site and I look up and I see fireproofing on all of these that's coming up. I can work here. And at that point, at that morning, I made the decision. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to find out how I'm going to get one job here. And I'm going to move the family back home. And so went back. By September, I had a job at the Hawaii Convention Center. And I was spraying fireproofing in the convention center. I had joined the union, gave everything up, sold the house, sold the cars, sold everything, moved back home. So we went from a 3-bedroom house in Arizona to a 12 by 12 foot room in my parents' house in Halaba. And it was me, my wife, and my 3-year-old son. And by the way, we found out a month later, 2 months later, my wife was pregnant. So we're living on this bunk bed in that 1-bedroom house, working. My wife was working all the way, catching bus to work, pregnant, everything. So making ends meet, going. The project ended. Now what do I do? And it was that spiral downwards. I just started spiraling downwards. And guess who I was blaming? I was blaming everybody else. I never did look in the mirror. And going through. And so this went on for 3 years, just getting odds and end jobs. From 86 to 89. I'm sorry, 96 to 99, odds and end jobs. I even had to, my sister was the project manager, the general manager at Hawaiian Earth Product, where they do all the mulch and everything. I got a job with her, asked her for a job, and all the mulch piles and everything. I had to climb those piles and pull out all the bags that was in the green waste rubbish cans that they dump. I had to pull out all the bags because they cannot create the mulch with the garbage bags. So I was doing this, and the whole time I was thinking, this is beneath me. You know, and what a mindset to have. Instead of being grateful for the job I had, my sister giving me a job, another chance and everything. Every job I took was beneath me because I should have been a part owner. I should have been a manager, leader, should have been. But I wasn't even leading myself. How can I lead somebody else when I'm not leading myself? So with that, what I learned throughout these pieces is I got comfortable. And my wife asked me through that portion, she said, are you happy? What are you doing? This our dreams? This what we wanted? This why we moved back to Hawaii to live in this? Is this what you want? And it made me think. And that's where the realization came in. Wow, I'm comfortable. So from there, said, well, you know what? I went out, I found a job, and I had to do what I had to do. You know, working throughout that company, and I wasn't treated very well at the company, but you know what? I had to do it. We moved out of my parents' house, we got an apartment, and then we ended up moving into a house and renting a house. And it's funny how the world works, vibrations work, how things work out there. God, well, however you want to call it, infinite intelligence. Something happened where we came into some money and was able to afford a down payment on a house. And we bought a house in Panama. And then we started from there. And then I got into the apprenticeship program, where at the largest industrial employer where I was. And I went in there with the mindset that I don't know anything. I'm a leader, but I'm not an expert. I got to be curious and I got to learn. And I went in there with that mindset that I'm going to be here to learn. I'm going to be curious and everything. And I started working my way up. Now, somewhere around year 3, year 4, I started falling back into that victim mentality and blaming everybody because it wasn't me, and complaining just to complain without solutions. And a leader came up to me and said, Nomana, I know this ain't you. I want you to go to this seminar that we put it on and everything. And so I went to the seminar, and in that seminar, the facilitator said, I know you folks don't want to be here. And I was the guy in the back of the room. Why am I here? I like to be on a waterfront working. I want to be out there with my friends working. Why am I here? I don't like to be here. But the facilitator said, I asked you 2 things. First thing, open your mind. You might learn something. And the second thing is have fun. Enjoy yourself. So I decided to do that, and I went. And then when we went through, they asked me to do the fireflies. Why do you work here? I chose why I work where I work, right? And so the first why, easy answer, money. We all need money. Nothing wrong with money. Everybody says money is the root of all evil. No, go look at the Bible. For the love of money is the root of all evil, right? We need money. That's the way the world goes around. I needed it. Second reason is to provide things for my family. A house, car, send my kids to good school, you know, take my wife out to nice dinners. Hey, buy steak and Heineken for Super Bowl party, have fun, you know what I mean? Hey, what's that? But now the third thing came up, right? And this was the toughest part for me. That third thing. And the reason I had trouble with that third why is because growing up with my dad, and my dad is my rock, he's everything to me. Both my mom and my dad are everything to me. They helped me throughout. They always supported me. But growing up, it's the old school. No blood, no foul. Suck it up, buttercup. What you crying for? I give you something to cry about. You know? And that's how it was growing up. But so the feelings part, you cannot cry. You can't, and I was sensitive growing up. I was one of those sensitive kids, always cry. So boom, getting the scoldings, whatever it was, you know what I mean? But going through it's that emotions. I didn't know how to love myself. I didn't know how to love people. I didn't know how to express myself. And so going through that was the tough part. But that third why was the feelings I got from doing the things for my family, for my friends, for my wife, for my kids, everything throughout. That joy, the happiness, the love, the pleasure, all those good things was coming to me. And that was the third why. And then boom, now from there, the fourth why was a little easier. The fourth why was what I was raised with, values I was raised with. And the values I was raised with from my mom and dad, hey, God, family, freedom, security, hard work, and having fun. Right? Boom, all of that instilled. And where I work till today at the largest industrial employer of Hawaii, everything we do over there tied back to my family values. Right? It created a sense of freedom, a sense of security. God is watching over me. You know, I get to work hard. It provides for my family, keeps us free at night, keeps us secure in our house or home, wherever we are. And by the way, I get to have fun with all the people I work with. Like brothers like Waka, you know, Lance, everybody that works there and going through. So I get to have fun. So now how easy was it for me to change my perception, my mindset, and go to work? So that's the elevate mindset part, right? Going through this wise part of it and why I do what I do, elevating my mindset. The way I look at it is elevating mindset. And you'll hear it from me over and over again today. You hear three things: elevate mindset, enrich leaders, and evolve culture, right? Elevating mindset is, to me, is like if you're climbing on a ladder with on camera. Because if you're on the ground, you're taking a picture, you're looking from this angle. But you climb on the ladder and you start looking down, and then you go into an aerial work platform and you look down with the camera. Boom, the aperture opens up and you can see a bigger picture. You can see a wider picture. So elevating my mindset to be looking down to see everything going on, and then placing myself in there, in that picture, putting myself in there to recognize, hey, how am I acting? How can I change that? What can I do to make it better? What can I do to help people out there? And that's that whole mindset piece, the elevated mindset piece. And then now I get to help enrich leaders where I'm going. So from that class right there, I'll tell you, every 2 years, I stepped up a level and stepped up a level and stepped up a level in there. And that aperture, as I stepped up that level, I went to supervisor, to the next level above the supervisor. Then I went to division head and I became a superintendent, right? And So now I can help a lot more people from that position. I didn't forget where I came from. I remember where I came from. I remember all the people that helped me to get to where I got to, because I didn't get there alone. I had a lot of people, a lot of workers. In fact, I always talk about when I first became a supervisor, the crew I had helped me to get to where I am now. And I remember those names. Guys like Donnie Barcelona, Jonathan Benito, Eric Shimomura, Nick Lorenzo, Leo Canate, Mike Umeda. You know, those are, and Mike Gaskin. Those are the guys that helped elevate me to the level I am now, right? And the relationships I built there, even where I am at the level I am, it's just a title. I'm still the same person, but I see more and I understand more and I gotta act differently, but I'm still the same person. And every time I see them, hey, shake and a hug. Remembering where I came. You know what I mean? Going through all of this, it just, boom. It helped me so much throughout this piece.
Brother, that's some really rich stuff, man. Telling your whole story about overcoming all of those challenges. It's crazy. One thing what kind of stuck out in my mind was when you were mentioning about how your grades weren't so good, in school at first, and how maybe you struggled. This is something I took a training for when I was in college about about entrepreneurship and webinars with CEOs. I talked about it in previous episodes too, but they talked about how sometimes having a high IQ and a high EQ, they don't necessarily go hand in hand. They can be, but just because you have good grades doesn't necessarily mean you have a high EQ and the soft skills to work with people. And I can't remember who it was. There's one gentleman spoke in TED Talk, and his line was, a lot of times you'll find in general the A students work for the B students, the C students run the companies, and the D students dedicate the buildings, is what he said. and I thought that was interesting, and I kind of find that too in my own personal experiences when I go different jobs and stuff. A lot of times the folks who are in the higher executive positions, the VPs and the executives, they might have been like those C students, like the average student. I guess my question to you is, why do you think that that's kind of a common thing in general, that a lot of times those students who are maybe had average grades, they end up being in like the higher echelons of executive positions?
That's a great question. I think for one, being a CD student, what was my mind focused on that time? I was focused on building relationships, building friends. You know what I mean? And being a part of something, being a part of a team, growing. I wasn't one to stay in my room, study, because I always thought, where is this going to help me in the end, right? Go back to my report card, and I did look at some of the classes I had. I did have an A, by the way, was in PE. And by the way, Cowley was my PE instructor.
Oh, man. Wow. Legendary, bro.
Yes. But the D's and the F's was actually in survey and Catholic faith. Now, I'm a faithful man today, but I couldn't see myself at that point. It was, why I got to know everything in the Bible? Why I got to memorize everything in the Bible? It's about how we treat people, right? Treat others the way you want to be treated, the golden rule. Why I got to know each verse, each scripture? How it does help to, now I know why. But at that time, I didn't know why. So I was about building the relationships, everything. The second thing with that whole, and it's understanding to be curious. And you had a great person on about 2 weeks ago that answered the question it was a similar question, and that was Keone. And he talked about being curious, and he talked about learning. When people the question I believe was, hey, when people don't see eye to eye, nowadays they just throw them away and we're not friends anymore. And why is that? And how do you overcome that? But that's the curiosity piece. Learning about the person, sitting down and understanding, knowing, hey, we're not going to see eye to eye on everything. We're not going to have the same viewpoint. In fact, for me as a leader, I don't want the same viewpoint from everybody. Then we don't see it from different perspectives. How are we going to fix the problem? I cannot be the smartest person in the room because I know for a fact I'm not the smartest person in the room. I learned with this, and this is where this is going. I learned with this that I'm not the smartest person in any room I walk into. So I have to be curious. I have to understand how to ask questions. I have to rely on other people to help me to gain the knowledge. And if I come in as I'm the smartest person, no, we're going to do it this way, this way, this way. I know everything. How are people going to react to me? Why he need me? He don't need me. I'm going to sit here and do nothing because he's going to correct them anyway. But guess what? I'm not that smart. But I am smart. I am smart enough to know in any room I walk into who is the smartest person. And so I always pose a question to people when I walk in and I give seminars. I talk to people. I talk to future leaders. I talk to young leaders, I should say, because everybody's a leader, right? They're not future leaders. Everybody's a leader. But when I talk to young leaders, I ask them, how many people do you think in this classroom that I think I'm smarter than? And people always tell me, 80%, 90%. And I look at them and I tell them, no, my answer is 0%. 0%. And the reason I know I'm not smarter than anybody in the room is because somebody in this room knows something I don't know and I can learn from each and every person. So every person in that room is smarter than me at something. So sit down, listen, get curious. And even with my kids, I learned valuable lessons from my kids growing up, right? And they were a part of my learning process. So my older boy coming through, hey, I played football, I played baseball, I paddled, everything. So naturally, 7 years old, put him in tackle football. And I told him, whatever you're going to do, you're not going to quit. And he wanted to quit. That wasn't for him. He got rocked on one play. And it was all older kids too, because he was a bigger kid. I put him in the older. Being that father, guy, you gotta suck it up, buttercup, you know. But so throughout the years, it's not. I let him quit what out, and then throughout the years, what do you want to do? And so he said he wanted to become a drummer. That was what he wanted to do. Okay, I know I am not musically talented. I don't know music, so find the right teacher for him. And we sent him to a drumming lesson. By the way, Kamehameha grad 2011. He's so. But what he liked is he liked metal, he liked rock and roll and everything. And he went to drum lesson for a good 8 years and he stuck it out, but he learned every genre. And a few years ago, I believe it was 2018 or 19, somewhere in there, their band won an award for Best Rock Album of the Year. Because he found his passion and I sat down and listened to him on what he wanted to do. I didn't want him to live my dream for him. I wanted him to live his dream for himself. And to do that, to understand what his dream is, I had to shut up and I had to listen to what his dreams are. And that's tough for me. That was tough. And even with my younger boy, same thing. He ended up becoming one of the best skateboarders in Hawaii. And he's still chasing that skateboard dream till today. He won. This was back in, I think, around 2018. He won the Zumi's Best Foot Forward here in Hawaii. They flew him to Boston, and he competed against 50 of the world's top amateur skateboarders. And he placed 18 in the world. And he probably could have gotten higher, but because they ranked him so low coming out of Hawaii, he faced the number one seeded person in the first round. It was head to head in the first round. So going up against the number one seeded person, that person was better than my son at that time. You know, but my son never stopped trying, never stopped. He didn't look at it as he's a failure. He was gone.